Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my new Tuesday live. I'm so happy to have you guys here. Welcome. So, we are switching the time to an evening time because I'm thinking that maybe more ladies are available in the evening to join us live here on these teaching sessions, which I make available to you in this group. So, welcome everybody who's new. I'm glad that you're here. Keep coming back, keep checking in for more information, and reach out if you have any questions ever. Today's topic is going to be a good topic. It's going to be about why we crave sugar and carbohydrates with Hashimoto's. It is such a vulnerable topic because sometimes we feel we are just not in control of ourselves and we just don't understand why. And we think it's all about our willpower that we have to change, but it truly isn't. There are mechanisms behind your sugar cravings, which I'll talk about three tonight. So I hope this will be extremely enlightening and helpful for you so that you can take the right action steps. Let me just go into my group quickly just to see who is here live. I can't see the comments, unfortunately, in my live screen here on my screen. Okay, Kimberly's here. Hello, good evening. Okay, amazing. So I see some people are watching. Say hello in the chat. Let me know who's here and we can go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, plop them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. So why do we crave carbohydrates with when we have Hashimoto's? And then I'm going to be talking about some my favorite natural sugar replacements that you can use for some benefits. This this live teaching today is really tied in to the free 5-day sugar-free challenge that I'm running in the group right now. So everybody who's joining in, it's a free challenge. Do so, have fun doing it. It is placed in this week strategically because I put it in there. I put it in there this week strategically because we have the liver cleanse and the gut cleanse coming up next week. So this is really a great prerequisite for those of you who are joining, such as Kimberly. And for those of you who have not joined yet, please do. It is only $88 for a 10-day guided whole foods liver cleanse with me and such a wonderful group of ladies that have already joined. So what we're going to be doing is it's a whole foods based cleanse. It is a gentle cleanse. There's no additional supplements needed. If you don't want to do that, you can if you wanted to, but you don't have to. And we will all be doing the cooking together as a group, including myself and the other beautiful ladies in this group. And so we will also be checking in with accountability calls. So we'll meet once a week, 4 times throughout the time, just to see how things are going and progressing for you. If you experience any symptoms, you can run that by us and we can help you navigate those. And by the end of the cleanse, which is a 10-day whole foods-based cleanse, I would be surprised if you don't feel an uptick in your energy because it's an amazing program that I put together for us. And please do join us if you want to. There's lots of space left for you guys. It's going to be a great event. So I'm very, very excited for that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about cravings tonight because I know it is a hot topic here with us. So why are cravings so persistent with us? Number one, I want you to know that it is not you. Okay, so first of all, I want you to know you're not doing anything wrong. Okay, it's not your willpower that you don't have under control. There, like I said before, there are certain mechanisms that kick in that can truly drive up those cravings if our Hashimoto's is not well managed. And tonight I will explain 3 of those mechanisms to you, and I hope that they make sense. And from there on forward, you can take some action steps. Okay, so let's get started. The first biggest reason why you're experiencing cravings is gut dysbiosis. So if you don't know what gut dysbiosis is, that's okay. I'll give you a quick explanation. But just to let you know, There is going to be an amazing challenge coming up, like a bigger challenge coming up for you guys. And we are going to be diving deep into gut health, including gut dysbiosis. So you will learn a ton about this topic very soon. So stay tuned for that. So what it essentially is, it is an overgrowth and imbalance of good to bad, quote unquote, bacteria in your gut, right? So opportunistic bacteria are taking over your gut environment and kind of like crowding out the friendly bacteria. And when we are experiencing gut dysbiosis, we are oftentimes experiencing an overgrowth of sugar loving microbes because those pathogenic bacteria thrive on sugar. So, some gut bacteria and also yeast, so specifically Candida, they thrive on sugar. And when these microbes are overgrowing in your gut, they may really start to signal to your brain that they're craving more sugar. So they're doing that via the so-called gut-brain axis. There's a communication pathway, which is wild, but it's there between your gut and your brain. And when those bacteria thinking they are not getting enough, they're starting to send messages up that axis to the brain, telling your brain, feed me more sugar, which then releases chemicals that affect your appetite and mood, right? And so that really can push you to experiencing a lot of cravings just in order to, get those sugary foods in order to feed those pathogenic bacteria in your gut that are overgrowing. The second one is which is also a part of the gut dysbiosis, is that your gut dysbiosis can actually disrupt your appetite regulation. So when you are experiencing dysbiosis in your gut, it can really interfere with a number of hormones. And two hormones I want to highlight tonight, which you might or might have not heard of, and they're called leptin and ghrelin. So leptin and ghrelin, those two, they are your hunger hormones. So ghrelin is your hunger hormone, and leptin is your satiety hormone. And I always find it funny, like when I learned that in nutrition school, ghrelin, I always thought about it like I always had this picture in my head of this little gremlin that is just there and causing havoc. So that is how I really learned about ghrelin being the hunger hormone. Anyways, so dysbiosis can really interfere with those two hormones, and I'll explain in a second how. But it can also interfere with serotonin production. Okay. So most of your serotonin production is actually made in the gut, right? And when this is off, then you can really experience cravings because your mood can be off and your cravings can be affected, especially for carbohydrates and sweets. Okay. So, and this is really where when we talk about serotonin, this is also where another big issue is tied in with, which is the anxiety and the mood and the low mood that we're experiencing frequently when our Hashimoto's are not well managed. That also plays a role with gut dysbiosis. So 90 to 95% of your serotonin is actually produced in the gut. Okay, so it's not produced in the brain, it is produced in the gut and primarily by specific cells, which I can't pronounce, so I won't do it, in response to food and movement of your gut movement. So serotonin production is being triggered by incoming food and by gut movement. So I want you to think about that. If your gut is sluggish, there's going to be reduced stimulation, which leads to less serotonin production, which can then ultimately lead to cravings. Okay. In addition, low thyroid hormones can cause slower gut function. So Hashimoto's typically leads to, if not managed well, can lead to hypothyroidism, right? So low thyroid hormones, which slows down your gut motility. So low thyroid hormones can slow down gut motility. And I'll tell you, hands down, Every single person I've worked with so far has had issues with gut motility, okay, which is basically that it basically explains how quickly things or food move through your digestive tract. Okay, there's a certain way of testing that we do inside my programs, but it is typically slower, which can cause constipation or sluggish digestion. And again, I want to drive this home when it comes to serotonin, because again, 90 to 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. And so if your gut motility is slow, if your gut is sluggish, you have reduced stimulation and also less serotonin production. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. The other thing I want to explain a little bit more in detail here is the ghrelin and leptin effect, because it's so huge. It's really, really huge, and it can really drive cravings for you. So low thyroid means low ghrelin, sometimes, oftentimes. Okay, so if you have low thyroid levels, your ghrelin levels are typically also low. So in a hypothyroid state, like in Hashimoto's, ghrelin levels may drop. Okay, especially when your hormones are poorly managed. So this can lead to reduced appetite. So listen up here, reduced appetite. So this is something when you wake up in the morning, for example, and you're not feeling hungry at all. Like you're just like you can't go without food for a longer period of time. It can cause slowed metabolism. Okay, so low levels of the hunger hormone can cause slower metabolism on top of the thyroid that is slow. And it can also cause fatigue or not feeling like eating at all, right? I mean, it sounds great for cravings, but it's really not long term, because when you play this through and when you are, giving in to these symptoms of ghrelin being low and you're not feeling hungry, you're not eating, you are very likely under eating and undernourishing your body, which can lead to so much issues such as blood sugar swings, which we'll talk about in a minute. Right? So you are definitely not balancing your blood sugar well enough in order for the nutrients to come in properly. So that is one thing that I wanted to point out here. And then the other one is leptin. So your satiety hormone. Typically, us with Hashimoto's, we tend to have issues with leptin resistance. And leptin resistance, similar to insulin resistance, can really mess things up for you, right? Hashimoto's oftentimes goes hand in hand with leptin resistance, which can cause weight gain. Because of the fact that you never feel satisfied, you don't have that feeling of fullness even if you're eating enough. So this can really lead to intense cravings, constant snacking, often cravings for sugar or carbohydrates, um, almost like your body is just trying to create that satiety feeling, which you'll never experience because your leptin resistance is in full force. So this was the case for me. I had severe leptin resistance. Like I could eat and eat all day long and didn't feel full at all. Um, Inflammation also in autoimmune inflammation can also impact ghrelin, but I'm not going to go into details here about that. But just so you know that the more inflammation you're experiencing, the more you're impacting your ghrelin levels and your leptin levels as well. So that is my first point. Okay, so that is gut dysbiosis. The second reason why you crave sugar is usually insulin resistance. So this is very similar to leptin resistance when it comes to the mechanism and how it works. But insulin resistance is hands down one of the biggest drivers of cravings, especially cravings for like refined carbs. Okay. And whoever comes my way and tells me that, is somebody with Hashimoto's and is convinced that they don't have a blood sugar issue, I'm really, really, trying to make this person understand that insulin resistance and blood sugar blood sugar imbalances does not mean that you're pre-diabetic. Okay, it doesn't have to do anything to do with diabetes in any shape or form. It is an imbalance that hands down everybody with Hashimoto's has an issue with, just because of how the thyroid and the whole physiologic responses in the body function, body's function. So let's break down what actually happens when we talk about insulin resistance. So just so that you get a clearer understanding of what it is, okay? So what is insulin resistance? So insulin resistance, normally when you eat carbohydrates or sugar, your blood sugar rises naturally, right? And then the next step is that your pancreas releases insulin. And the insulin helps to shuttle the glucose that you've been consuming into your cells to be used as energy. So, this is the mechanism that is working in your body. With insulin resistance, your cells basically stop responding properly to insulin. So, what happens? The first thing that happens is that glucose stays in your bloodstream, which can become dangerous. So, the glucose needs to be shuttled somewhere else, and that is usually in fat cells, not first in the liver, then in the muscles, and then in fat cells. The pancreas just keeps pumping more and more insulin to try to get cells to respond, right? So basically, the pancreas is working in overdrive in order to clear the blood from glucose. So I actually had a conversation with a previous client of mine, and she had a pregnancy just recently and healthy baby and everything, but her thyroid was acting up afterwards, like just like crazy, and her hormones were all over the place. And she went to her doctor, a functional doctor, and she was diagnosed with pancreatic insufficiency. I wasn't surprised, right? Because that is the pancreas sometimes gets really overburdened by having to do that, you're having to pump out the insulin when we are experiencing insulin resistance. So that can definitely lead to, diagnosis like that. Um, so what happens is that this then leads to chronically high insulin levels, right? Because the insulin is just being pumped out, and unstable blood sugar. So you go on a whole roller coaster with that thing. And so it's honestly a major setup for cravings that you can experience. And so when you are starting to add Hashimoto's to the mix, it can get a little bit worse, because thyroid hormones also regulate glucose metabolism, right? And so low thyroid actually slows insulin sensitivity, making the resistance worse. So this is all, the scenarios when your Hashimoto's is not well managed. Okay, when you're actually experiencing inflammation and imbalances on these levels, this is where then the thyroid has an additional impact on these mechanisms. The inflammation from Hashimoto's, the inflammation that can be systemic, can just add fuel to the metabolic fire that is already happening in your body. So the inflammation just drives things a notch up even further. Okay, so that is reason number 2 why you're still experiencing cravings, insulin resistance. So the third reason for cravings with Hashimoto's is sleep deprivation. Okay, so sleep deprivation, insomnia, not enough quality sleep, not enough hours of sleep. It's honestly like putting steroids on your cravings. This is what's going to happen when you are low on sleep. Your whole body and your brain basically go into survival mode. And what that means is that your cravings will just spike, especially for sugars, carbs, and junk food. And they're going to spike hard because your body is trying to signal to you that you need to replenish energy in the fastest, quickest way possible, which is always simple sugars. So here's exactly what's going on behind the scenes. So let's look a little bit behind the scenes when it comes to sleep deprivation so you understand a little bit better. The first thing that happens when you're sleep deprived, and that is all scientifically proven, by the way. So I'm not making this up. There are studies out there that if you want to see, I can show you, I can share with you. So sleep deprivation and cravings. The first thing that happens is that your hunger hormones that you just learned about, they get totally scrambled, right? So the ghrelin, the hunger hormone, goes up by default when you're sleep deprived, and leptin, the fullness hormone, goes down just by default when you're sleep deprived. So what you're feeling is that you are hungrier than usual by default. When you don't get enough sleep, you're hungrier than usual. You're less satisfied after eating, and you feel like you need more food just to function. So, even if you have like a regular day ahead of you, you feel that you need to consume more to even make it through the day. The second thing that happens when you're sleep deprived is that your blood sugar goes wild. So there's different mechanisms to that, which I will not explain right now, but sleep loss in and of itself makes you more insulin resistant. So, and that is even just after one bad night. So I always say to my clients in my programs and to my family members too, to be quite honest, is that you can't catch up on sleep. It doesn't work. After just one bad night of, poor quality sleep, you will be experiencing all of these effects and you can't catch up on it. I don't want to scare anybody. I mean, everybody, like everybody has a social life too, and there is things that happen, and there's parties, or maybe you go out, or you have a late night, or whatever, and that's okay. I mean, if your body is well managed, which you are capable of getting there, it's not going to cause you much harm. But what I'm saying here is that if you're having a sleep issue, like if this is happening to you night after night after night after night, this is truly something you'll have to work on and prioritize, because it can drive inflammation, it can drive blood sugar, insulin resistance, it can drive Hashimoto's, fatigue, and cravings. So sleep loss makes you more insulin resistant by default. Your blood sugar spikes much higher after meals. Even if you eat the same thing from the day before, and if you have a blood glucose monitor and you monitor it, and you'll see that after a sleepless night, your blood sugar spikes much higher after the same food, and then it crashes much, much more heavily, and your cravings will go up much more as well. The third thing that happens when you're sleep deprived is that your brain craves super quick energy. So your brain runs on glucose by default. That's the preferred source of nutrition. And when your brain is tired, it wants fuel and it wants it fast, right? So by default, your body is leaning towards processed sugar, bread, chips, anything ultra processed it sounds very delicious and it smells very delicious to you by default. And the last thing I want to mention here is that your prefrontal cortex, which is where your decision making sits in your brain, is also sleepy, right? So your decision making is sleepy and not functioning optimally. So which means that your inner food cop is lazy. It's not going to be able to help you much out. It's off duty basically. So, it's very, very difficult to try to exert willpower during this time. It's almost impossible, right? So that is why I always say, don't be so hard on yourself. There is no reason to be so hard on yourself. It's not you. There are these mechanisms in place, but there's ways that you can definitely reverse these things with nutrition, lifestyle changes, and some supplementation. It's all possible. Okay, so now you have three good mechanisms that I explained to you as to why you are having more cravings with your Hashimoto's, and that it's not your fault. So what I would like to cover now is I would like to give you three or four, I think I have four, really nice, great alternatives to processed sugar or sugar in general that I really like. In moderation, of course, but it's definitely something if you have a sweet tooth or if you need that little bit of energy, it's always nicer to go with something that is a little bit more natural and, actually has benefits to it. My first and absolute favorite natural sweetener is raw honey. So raw honey is a superfood. Okay, so raw honey is truly a superfood, and it's one of the best natural sweeteners. I think it tastes delicious. I love honey. Sometimes I put it in my coffee, in my smoothies. It is just so good. Why is it so good? Because it is packed with enzymes. Okay, it's packed with enzymes, antioxidants, lots of minerals such as iron and zinc, potassium, calcium, vitamin B6, niacin, so lots of B's in there as well. And the other thing about raw honey is that not only do all of these combined essential nutrients in honey help neutralize free radicals, so they help to go after your inflammation in your body, but 1 tablespoon of raw honey, and now I want you guys to listen up to this, has actually less impact on your glycemic load than a single banana. So raw honey is actually pretty low on the glycemic index, right? So the impact on your blood sugar is going to be much less than a single banana. I thought that is really interesting. So the darker the honey, the richer the flavor, the greater the benefits. Once pasteurized, honey loses its medicinal properties, and it's basically just sugar and nothing else left in it. Okay, so always go for the raw honey. Locally, best case scenario. The second one I wanted to highlight here is dates. Okay, so dates are super rich in minerals, which we oftentimes lack with Hashimoto's. So they provide potassium, copper, iron, manganese, magnesium, and they also have a lot of B6 in them. And so the dates, they come from the palm tree and they are very easily digested, and they actually help metabolize proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. So dates have been shown to be very good as a digestive aid. And it also has been shown that dates actually help reduce LDL cholesterol, and can be very beneficial to bring down your cholesterol levels, believe it or not. The next one I was going to point out here is coconut sugar. Okay, so a lot of you guys might have heard about the benefits of coconut water and coconut flour and coconut milk, but there's also coconut sugar. It's a natural sweetener and it's very low on the glycemic index. So it basically has no impact on your blood sugar response, a little bit maybe, but very, very little. And it is just so rich in polyphenols and iron and zinc and calcium, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. It is a very good sweetener, and yeah, you can get it. You can easily get it in grocery stores these days, and I use it all the time. The last one I wanted to mention, because of course I have to, is maple syrup, right? So, as you guys know, I live in Canada and we are a huge maple syrup country over here. So, love our maple syrups. We went to in the fall. I'm sorry, yeah, in the spring. No, in the fall. Yeah, I think it's in the fall. When they know in the spring it's coming up actually, when the sap starts running. So I took my girls many years ago. We went to a maple tree farm where they actually put the buckets on the tree and then they attach like a little spout, and then when the sap starts running, you can actually see how the maple sap is running into the bucket, and then we watch them how they make maple syrup, which is amazing. It was super, super cool experience. But it's honestly one of the best natural sugar substitutes because it's an outstanding amount of specific minerals in there, especially zinc, potassium, manganese. It is super rich in antioxidants. Antioxidants help to fight inflammation. And it has been shown to be very helpful in neutralizing free radicals, so inflammatory factors in your body, and even help reduce oxidative damage. So damage that has already begun on your cells, maple syrup can actually help reduce that damage. The more you look for the darker grade maple syrups, the more benefits you'll gain from that product. It has more antioxidants than the lighter syrups, especially great for baking as well. And that was it, everybody. So I hope this was a really good session for you to understand and to learn more about the different mechanisms that come with Hashimoto's cravings. I want to just repeat myself one more time. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's not you that are not being able to stay away from these things. Um, Sometimes we can't beat our just of normal physical responses in our bodies. But what we can do is we can take note of it and we can learn from our bodies and learn from the symptoms that we're experiencing. And then we can use this information and then choose the right action steps so that we can start to rebalance and reverse these symptoms and bring our Hashimoto's in a more manageable state. So the sugar-free challenge this week is meant to kickstart this kind of thinking and behavior. So just do it. It's free, and take advantage of it. If you want to continue on this journey next week and join us in the liver cleanse, we would love to have you. I'm super excited for the liver cleanse. Don't worry about detoxification symptoms. It's a very gentle cleanse. And yeah, and that's it. And I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I will see you again very soon. All right. Have a good night, everybody.